This is the Arduino project week 5. There are a couple segments to the circuit. One is a pot standard voltage divider configuration, which feeds into an analog input. Then we have, coming out of an analog input, a wire which is pulse width modulation, unique because it sends the full voltage of the board out, but it splits it across a number of segments based on the frequency. So for instance, 20,000 hertz would send out a pulse up to 20,000 times a second. The pulse duration can be modified, which is why it's pulse width modulation. The circuit here controls an LED, and it also controls a DC motor. The motor is driven by a small transistor. The transistor allows a large amount of current to be controlled with just a very small amount of control current. In that case, the control current is coming from the Arduino. I turn the pot up. The motor increases in speed, and the diode increases in brightness. If I decrease, the motor slows down, the diode starts to glow less, until finally the motor stops or stalls. Fast and slow. The circuit also has, if I can adjust the camera, pulse width modulation can be seen. It's the output. This is simply a reading from the pot. You can hear the motor speed, hear the motor slow down. The code is actually very simple and all fits on one screen. There's an initiation of the pins, the potentiometer, input pin, which is pin 9. I'm sorry, that's the LED pin in, which is connected to pin 9. The variable resistor, analog pin 3 in. I store a variable called value into a variable which I then have set to 0. In the setup, I open up the communication monitor. I do a pin mode to set the output pin as an output pin. I read the value from the pot. This is very standard as an analog read. I print the value to the monitor in the serial input. I put in a delay for stability of the serial monitor. And finally, I do an analog write, which is the LED pin value divided by 4. This allows me to change from the resolution of the 0 to 1024 output from the pot to the 0 to 255 output, which is available for the motor LED control through the PWM.